There is more garbage written about dreams than there is authentic material. So, unfortunately, the odds are that you are more likely to have heard erroneous statements about dreams, the technical term is made up shit, than anything that would actually help you. This is not a new phenomenon. Insane theories have been asserted for over 100 years. Any dream book you read today will almost always quote Sigmund Freud. His theories on dreams have been well debunked, but he still has to be mentioned. Why? That's a rhetorical question. Were you going to defend him just now? Okay, then I have a follow-up question. Did you eat paint chips as a child? Freud said that dreams express forbidden desires. There is just the tiniest element of truth to that. For instance, if you've been celibate for a while, you will likely dream of having sex. But Freud went out and bought a big drum on this, and he wouldn't stop banging it. Freudian slip intended there. Notice that's even called a Freudian slip. Telling, isn't it? Freud also famously said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. What? That's what we all thought, until you told us it represents, how's a delicate way to put this, a male sex organ you want to put in your mouth. Now you've the balls to lecture us, Freudian slip intended again, for following your perverse thoughts. Phew, I had to slow down and not say penis. An unintentional Freudian slip there. That must mean I can't stop thinking about penises. I must phone the wife and tell her that using Freud's techniques, I just discovered I'm gay. Oh, wait, he's the one who brought that up. Maybe I'm not gay after all. Maybe this is all about him. Okay, I'm using humour to make a very sad point, and you can laugh at it now, today, but there were decades when you couldn't. Not if you wanted to work in the field of psychology. When Carl Jung published The Psychology of the Unconscious in 1913, he was essentially set adrift from the Freudian-dominated psychoanalytic world. It didn't matter that Jung was correct in his theories about dreams. Freud had more influence, or in today's term, he had a higher Google ranking, and that's what matters. When Freud talks about dreams expressing repressed desires, he's specifically talking about the Oedipus complex, a term he coined to mean a desire for sexual involvement for a parent of the opposite sex. He introduced it in 1899 in his book Interpretation of Dreams, and it has sullied the field ever since. Don't think for a second that he introduced the world to dream interpretation. Dreams are even interpreted in the Bible. No, he spluttered nonsense and then did a mic drop. He followed that with never listening to any argument. Just ask Jung, he'll tell you all about it. But one dream alone will disprove Freud's nonsense. This one is from my book. It's called Silver Chain. It's quite short. I enter a jewellery shop to buy a gold chain. The jeweller offered me a silver chain. I refused it, as I only wanted the gold one. The shopkeeper would not give me the gold one and kept saying the silver one was already mine. So why did the dreamer refuse the silver chain? Has she a repressed desire for gold, coupled with a repressed hatred of silver? Even if you wrongly asserted that gold symbolized wealth, it makes no sense because silver also has value and indeed is more commonly used in currency. Freud is wrong because this dreamer, like every other dreamer in the dream world, is fully aware of what the symbol represents and is making decisions based on those representations. She knows that the shopkeeper is her guide. He's the authority in the dream. She knows the gold represents hands-on healing and that silver represents her psychic ability. She also knows the chains represent a karmic obligation. Using a dream, her higher self is asking her to listen to her guide. He is telling her to accept that she is already obliged to develop and use her psychic ability, as that is her karmic path. She is chained to that. She is refusing and says she now wants to become a hands-on healer instead. The guide lets her know she can't change her karma. There's no expression of repressed desires here. It's a dialogue between the dreamer and her higher self. Don't believe it? Here's what's going on for the dreamer in reality. She had trained in a hands-on healing method called bioenergy healing. After working at this for a while, she had to keep taking breaks from a few days to a few weeks as she kept getting ill herself. That in itself is a sign that she was on the wrong track and is a karmic way of being pushed away from something that is not on her path. I've seen situations like this a number of times with people who already work in the spiritual field. They've invested time and money into their training and are understandably reluctant to drop their source of income. In all cases, They are already aware that they have a different gift, but they do not put the appropriate value on it. In this case, the woman knew she was psychic, but could not see how she could make a living from it. It's ironic, because I know people who have a healing gift, and they don't see how they can make a living from that. A correct dream interpretation will match reality and will resonate with the dreamer. I have seen profound, life-changing results from just a single dream being interpreted. Why? Because at our core, we know our path. We know our gifts. We know. When a dream interpretation brings that into the light of day, we feel the alignment with our higher self, or source depending on your terminology. We still have a choice about following that alignment or moving away from it. Just before I get off my soapbox, I want to point out that I'm using Freud here not just to represent himself, but to symbolically represent the many people today who are dressed in the emperor's new clothes and believing their garments are made of the detailed fabric of dreams. Don't be deluded. Let them walk on, and as they do, you'll see there is no fine craftsmanship that holds together their material. You'll just be looking at their ass, the true source of their inspiration.